The longest I've ever been away from my family was for an extended missions trip. And at the end of the missions trip, we had a day and a half debrief in London on our layover back home. And prior to the trip, I was so excited about that day in London. It was going to be a great time seeing the sights, and it was a country I'd never been to. But I'll tell you this, that by the time that day reached, that 1 or 2 more days until I saw my family, London was very, very difficult to me because I had this longing to be home. As excited as I was before I left on the missions trip, 18 days later, without seeing my wife and my kids in London, I was consumed with the idea of getting home and seeing them and hugging them and being with them and relaxing in my own bed. And I remember much of London wasn't as excited as I wanted because I was so focused on wanting to be with my family. The discipline of fasting is here to create an eager want and a longing for God, a deeper understanding of our need for Him. And the same way that I was in London helps us draw to a desperate desire to be in God's presence. Fasting isn't just eliminating food. Obviously, you can do it many different ways, but food is the most significant way because it draws our physical body to understanding the spiritual reality of our need for God. And fasting is oftentimes a discipline that we don't engage in anymore, or the spiritually elite might do so. But I want to tell you that it is for all of us. And in fact, there's an expectation that Jesus sets for His disciples, all of us who follow Christ, to be fasting. In Matthew 6, He says this, "And when you fast," just notice that. There's an assumption that you're going to fast. And when you fast. And when you fast. Not if you fast, not if you're thinking about fasting. Oh, by the way, there's this fasting thing. "And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others." In other words, the intentionality is not this closeness to God, but it's to look spiritually elite. "Their fasting may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you." Now, right after this, He says this, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where there neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So contextually, there's this engagement in fasting, which draws us to understanding the value of the eternal. That there are things in this world that beg for our attention, that say this is so important. And food, which is a good gift from God. I love food, but food is the epitome of this earthly consumption of goods, which our body actually needs, that has tones or patterns of the world around us, again, begging for our attention and begging for our need. And what Jesus is saying here is the participation in fasting allows us to reorient ourselves, to remind us that storing up our treasures in heaven is where we should focus. And fasting helps us do that. Fasting helps that longing increase and helps us say, as I feel the grumble in my tummy, as I feel that physical need, God, I'm going to remember that the spiritual reality is more important than the physical need. That what you want and that what you reward eternally is greater than what will fulfill me for a short time. Because while this meal or while this show or while whatever I'm giving up will consume a part of my time, if I invest that time in building my relationship with you, in thinking about you, in meditating on you, that will not go away. That is an eternal investment. And so as you think about fasting and as you participate in fasting, it's not just the elimination of something, but it's the elimination of something to increase our longing for the Lord, to increase our desire to spend time with Him, to help us remember that that meal or that thing that we have given up only satisfies for a short time, but our relationship with God is forever. And as we invest in that, that investment is not just for the here and now, it's for eternity. May you fast with a deep longing to know Jesus, to experience Jesus, and to be desperate for Him. How will you engage in fasting? And who will you help engage in the discipline of fasting?